The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went away. But when the wheat sprouted and bore grain, then the tares became evident also. The slaves of the landowner came and said to him, "Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares?" And he said to them, "An enemy has done this." The slaves said to him, "Do you want us then to go out and gather them up?" But he said, "No, for while you are gathering up the tares, you may uproot the wheat with them. Allow both to grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather up the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them up, but gather the wheat into my barn." Welcome back to session 3 of the parables. Now that we have had a chance to understand how the kingdom in the parables are connected, let's dive into our first 2 parables, the wheat and tares and the net. Let's begin. Weeds. I cannot count the many times my wife and I pulled weeds. Weeds are a pain and a headache to deal with, let alone the invasiveness of weeds. Weeds have a tendency to grow fast, and they have a tendency to overtake your garden, your landscape, even your grass. Weeds, I hate them. There is this particular weed called Lolium timoletum, better known as darnel ryegrass, or its Greek name zizanion. Its origin is found in the countries in the Mediterranean region, and it is usually seen growing in the fields of wheat and infests the entire field as well as other cultivated land that is around. The stem itself can actually grow up to about 1 meter tall and resembles, listen to this, wheat until it matures. But the interesting thing about this particular weed is that its seeds are poisonous. They are poisonous to people and livestock. It can cause dizziness and nausea. And as it spreads, its roots begin to intertwine with that of the wheat. Jesus told a story about weeds in a field of wheat. And in this parable, there is this man, many of your translations may say sower, who sowed good seeds, we're going to say wheat, in this field, in his own field. But something happened when the sower's servants fell asleep. The sower's enemy came into the field and scattered bad seeds, which produced weeds among the good seeds in the field. Whenever the plant sprouted, the servants of the sower noticed that something was wrong. Something happened. Weeds were growing with the wheat. Now, this weed in the Greek, in this context, and what this particular Greek word is zizanion, better known as darnel, Lolium timoletum. When the servants see this, they ask, "Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds?" In other words, they were saying, where all these weeds come from? You said you sowed good seed, but where did these weeds come from? The sower knew exactly what happened because he was very careful to plant, listen to this, only good seed. The sower ends up telling the servants that an enemy has done this. Now, the sower's servants immediately wanted to pull the weeds out, which is understandable due to the poisonous nature of the weeds, but the sower instructs them not to. You see, the sower knew that if they had pulled them out, they would also destroy the wheat in the process. So he tells them to wait, and at harvest time, the reapers will separate them. The wheat will be gathered and placed into the barn, while the weeds would be gathered and burned. Jesus later explained this parable to his disciples. The Son of Man, Jesus, is the sower who sows the good seed, the wheat. He sows the good seed in his field. The field is the world. The good seed are the people of the kingdom citizens. The bad seed are the weeds, the bad seeds or the weeds are the people of the wicked one, or the evil one, if you will. The enemy who sows the bad seeds is the devil. And the harvest is the end of the age, separation and judgment of the wicked and reward the righteous. And the harvesters are the angels. In this present age, listen to this carefully, in this present age, there will always be people who are wicked in the midst of kingdom citizens. In this present age, there will always be people who are wicked in the midst of kingdom citizens. One author put it this way: Jews expected the Lord to immediately destroy the wicked and deliver the righteous when he came to fulfill his kingdom promises. So Jesus is teaching that both good and evil will coexist until the end of the present age was revolutionary. At the consummation, not the inauguration of the kingdom, God will send his angels to separate the righteous from the unrighteous. Did you notice something from this parable? Did you notice that the wheat did not resemble the weeds, but the weeds resembled the wheat? You see, the wheat was the authentic, edible grain that was not contaminated by the weeds. It stayed separated in that it did not become corrupt. But the weeds, on the other hand, infiltrated the area of the wheat. They made themselves at home, if you will, looking and acting like wheat. I want you to think about that for a moment. You have these weeds that have infiltrated and began to act and look like wheat. Well, another parable Jesus told was that of the net. In Matthew 13:47 through 50, let me read that and we will talk about this in a moment. In verse 47 of chapter 13, it says, "Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore and sat down and sorted the good into containers, but threw away the bad." So they sorted the good fish, put it in containers, and threw away the bad fish. And so verse 49 says, "So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Here we have two fishermen in a boat who drops a net into the sea, and this net is pulled through the water onto the shore. Notice that none of the fishermen jump out of the boat into the water and swim down into the net to sort the fish while the net is being dragged through the water. But both fishermen wait until they are on the shore to sort the fish. The point of this parable is the same as the previous one, and that is, and listen carefully to this, as citizens of the kingdom, we must trust God to sort things out. Sorting is not our job. We are to be, listen to this, faithful to do the work of the kingdom. Reach. We are to be faithful in reaching the lost. Remember, you were once that weed. You was once that bad fish that someone just naturally said, "I don't want to have anything to do with them or you or whatever." But someone reached out to you, whether that was through a coffee, lunch, dinner, church, home, regardless, whatever it was through, someone reached. I guess the question then is, are you reaching? Are you reaching? Well, it has been such a joy and a privilege being with you today. Now, next week, we will examine the parable of the soils in its interpretation. But before you go, here are a couple of questions for you to ponder and discuss amongst your group, your family, or your friends. Number one, what are some strategies Satan uses to sow evil in the world? What are some strategies that Satan uses to sow evil in the world? Number two, what are the dangers of judging other people? What are the dangers of judging other people? Now, with number three, let us look at our lives for a second. What areas in our lives have we allowed seeds, bad seeds, to be planted? Whether that may be seeds of discord or jealousy or doubt, etc., etc. What areas in our lives have we allowed seeds to be planted? Before you discuss these questions together, I want to make mention of a couple of resources that would benefit you throughout this week. Our Pastor Ray's preaching on the parables. They are entitled Stories of Jesus, and you can find that link on our website if you go to rbcdothan.org. Another resource is A2 Life Podcast. This new season that we're in will give you practical application in the area of reaching. Well, thanks again for tuning in. I pray that you all will have a great and wonderful week. God bless you, and I hope to see you next week.